viewers, and welcome to another cockpit cam video running on Project Cars, this time in the Pagani Huayra, and we're racing along the Azure Coast circuit. I do like this starting point, a sort of built up area before we go into the long coastline. Again, the frame rate on here has been improved, constantly refined, certainly from the development versions that we saw last year. And again, this was my first run with the Mode 2 on the controller, which has sort of worked better for me. So the three modes, if you're using a controller, which many of you will be, certainly it's worth checking the different modes. Tricky around this first few corners. The AI is set to somewhere like 50% at the moment. And the AI varies track to track. You know, some tracks you can have 50% and it'll put up a good challenge. Some tracks put it up to 80%, and it's a similar challenge. But I find when you have the AI up really high, one, they're quick, and two, they become much more aggressive as well. So it really depends on the car, class and course in finding a sort of right balance for you. Nice lighting on this course, nice in car. I know many of you have asked about the depth of field effects, whether you can turn them off. You can turn those effects off, and we'll look at that in another video. But I personally have found the helmet cam to be really immersive, and your eyes do focus when you're racing on the distance. Many of you use a HUD. If you're turning your HUD off, it's not really an issue for me. I mean, I just found that I tend to use a visual approach to the racing. Love the view around this corner. Look at that, really nice, of the coastline. Lots of detail, lots of questions about handling as well. We're going to look at handling in more detail. I like the handling myself. I like the way it's evolved. It's got a good weight to the car, but it's very tricky to drive. You know, if you take this car for example, these cars have got a lot of power. I've got another video in a Gunboat Apollo which is coming, and the car has loads of power, so you're barely ever full power. You're sort of feathering the throttle around a lot of these corners, and then progressive as you can. You want to get on the power because they've got loads of power, but they'll fly off the track before you know it, and they'll get away from you. And you'll even see a moment later in this video where even I'm struggling a bit with this car and all the power it has. But it's really nice to see the effect and the focus and how it works. I really enjoy the effects. Also, there's been some talk about the lighting. I really like the lighting as well that they've gone for. It's a picturesque, nice lighting. I remember, and I'll mention this again no doubt in the future, but I remember when UK Resistance had their Blue Sky campaign a few years ago. Sega games with blue skies, and I like a game to look, you know, pretty in its own way, not to be too grey and drab. But this game has every single type of weather you can want for, day and night. But I have liked some of these evening drives. Now you might see occasionally, well, this is recorded from the replay, there is a slight replay glitch there where the car sort of jitters for a second. That's a replay issue. Now I've got past him, and I'm going to close up on these guys. Just a really nice feeling, you know, it's all running so smoothly, looking nice. So what are we looking at in the future videos? Well, we've got obviously another cockpit cam to come in Cadwell Park. Then we're going to be looking at other views and multicam videos, and we're going to be looking at the graphical options, what you can turn on and off to suit your style of racing, what you'd like to see. So you can turn off many of the effects here. Struggling a little bit with the handling there. I could have avoided that barrier, but it was a risk that I could spin out entirely. Love the lighting on the exit of that tunnel as well. Really nice. Really nice. It does remind me of being in the region. That's one thing throughout is really spectacular, is the lighting. I mean, the lighting in the Azure circuit is spot on in terms of what it was like being there. It just gave me a feeling of I could just get out the car and walk down the street. Really nice to see that every detail has been covered. So I'm trying to go quickly there, go up on the inside, got past him finally. It's actually quite tricky overtaking because it's hard to get on the power even if you're quicker, and oh, the car's lost it, that's it. I'm trying to save it, but it's no good. So as soon as the car got some air, that was it. I've been hit again, and that was it for me. So it just shows, I wanted to highlight that, you know, as soon as the car got some air, it came down badly on its suspension, and then that was it. I was basically a passenger nothing I could do to save the car then. So I'm going to go a bit quicker now, get a bit more leery I think to try and catch up with those guys. I was being a tad reserved because I wanted to keep it relatively clean, but that's all gone out the window now. As you can see, I'm going a bit wide again there. Oh, it's a struggle with so much power. Racing along these valleys. As I was saying, the lighting in, really, I think they've done a really good job with the lighting throughout. It's really nice to sort of race along these roads, whether you're racing with cars or whether you're racing on a time trial, different weather conditions. I've been looking at a lot of your comments and feedback on the title, what you'd like to see. So obviously handling is one of the things we'll look at in a bit more depth, sort of comparisons, and I'll run some of that with a wheel as well, and look at the controller and how to drive project cars. It's quite tricky for those of you with controllers. Some of you may not have driven games quite as tricky in terms of getting into initially as this will be, but you start off with the simpler cars and work your way up. That's basically the best way to do it. You don't jump in this car for sure. So I mean, these sort of really powerful sports cars are actually surprisingly tricky to drive, to actually get speed out of. They don't have the downforce. They're a little bit bouncy on the suspension. Just want to go faster in them, but they have so much power. So working my way along, you can see the whole mountain rendered there. Lots of nice details. So what can we look forward to on the channel then? Well, we're looking forward to, as I say, graphical fidelity videos, looking at the graphics you can turn on, turn off. You can look forward to all the handling videos, the steering wheel videos, and a bit on the controller, multicams, and then eventually when the game is released I'm going to start my career and possibly get into some multiplayer as well from time to time, and hopefully arrange a multiplayer session with some of the Project Cars community. That way we can get it nice and sensible without everybody crashing off on turn one. It'd be nice to get some decent races in. I'm trying to close up a little bit here. Very tricky because every time I try and go a little bit quicker the car's moving around a lot on this suspension, and I don't really know this sort of section. It is quite a long section, and I ran it once in an early preview, some of you may have seen, but that was the first time ever playing it, so this was my second time, and I thought, hey, let's just drive it and learn it. Finally closing up on these guys. For way past you, I'm not hanging around now. Close up on them. As I say, the AI on this was set to 50%, so you can up the AI a long way, and then these guys would just be down the road basically. I wouldn't have seen them again. But it's really nice when you run a long section like this and you speed the time of day up, because you start off leaving in the middle of the day, and you can be pulling into the finish line in the middle of the night. It just gives it a really nice feeling that you've been on an extra epic drive. Concentrating on these sections. And that's that for this Azure Coast circuit. I hope you enjoyed that little run on the circuit. It's nice that they've added these additions in here of the California section, the Azure section as well. Certainly it'd be interesting to try them in the different cars. And do click on these other videos. Lots more Project Cars content on the channel, and as ever there'll be more from me very soon.